Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
The Tampa Bay Chocolate Festival 2024. This is sponsored by Generation Entertainment. Saturday and Sunday, February 17th and 18th, rain or shine, indoor and outdoor, at the Gulf View Square Mall in Port Richey, Florida. Folks, is anyone going to this event? Because if you are, I need you to go to the Duke Loves Rasslin Facebook account on Saturday the 17th. I am going to pin a post at the very top, okay? I want all the information. This is the event where Generation Championship Wrestling is supposed to restart under new leadership. Okay, according to the board of directors, we've already had everyone from Storm Thomas, who recently announced that he's injured, so he actually will not be competing at this event. But August Artois is in the main event for the GCW Championship. I want to know what's happening. I want to know what's going on. Life after Gomez for GCW. So please, I'm going to put up a post about the Chocolate Festival. And I want anyone who's there, go to my page, give me updates, let me know what's going on, please, because I have a funny feeling this is going to be a spectacle. Also, if you see Sticks there, please do not give him a hard time. But you can say to him, though, Sticks, it's unfortunate you forgot who your friends are. And I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, the Tampa Bay Chocolate Festival 2024, February 17th and 18th. Let me know if you are there, folks. Photos, comments, what the hell is going on? Who are the board of directors for Generation Championship Wrestling? The whole 9 yards there. That's right.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, the show about pro wrestling and everything else. Brothers and sisters, I promised you I was going to give you a mixed bag of fantastic conversations this week, and certainly that's exactly what you're going to get. In fact, we're going to kick off this episode with a first-timer here, okay? Listen, we've had Hall of Fame pro wrestlers. We have had football coaches. We've had Hall of Fame basketball journalists. We've had scientists, rocket scientists, mind you, on this show. OnlyFans models. We've had wrestlers, obviously, MMA fighters, the whole 9 yards here. But for the first time ever, we have a naval intelligence officer joining Duke Loves Wrestling. So this is going to be really, really interesting. It's a reminder of how diverse the pro wrestling audience really is. So without further ado, check out this conversation with the man, Travis Akers.
Hi, this is Travis Akers. I'm a public school parent, a veteran naval intelligence officer, an activist and advocate in my community for public education and military families, and you are listening to Duke Loves Wrestling.
Well, Travis Akers, you are one of the more popular intelligence officers that I've ever known of, who's also admitted that they're a big wrestling fan. So it's a pleasure to have you here on Duke Loves Wrestling, man.
Thanks, Duke. It's great to be here. I am certainly an unapologetic professional wrestling fan, lifelong, and I just absolutely love the storylines, the entertainment, and it's a passion of mine that I will never apologize for.
Well, since you're an intelligence guy, I'm gonna test your intelligence here. Okay, it's 2024. When it comes to AEW, what is the biggest story or the biggest thing that you're on the lookout for 2024?
Oh, wow. So there are so many opportunities with the roster that Tony Khan and AEW have right now. you have some of the biggest legends of all time with Sting and Adam Copeland. And then you have some amazing young stars like Darby Allin and members of Bullet Club Gold. There's just so many possibilities to give us dream matches, inter-promotion matches. And I think this is a great opportunity to provide an alternative product as well to WWE for those who maybe enjoy more of the traditional in-ring storytelling and classic wrestling style. I think 2024 is going to be a milestone year for AEW as well, because it looks like Tony is starting this reset. He's bringing back the rankings. And I think that he probably is beginning to open up to some of the fan feedback, whereas before it seemed like he might have been closed off to it. And so we're seeing what looks like almost a reset or a fresh start for AEW. And I'm really excited. Unfortunately, we know Sting is going to be retiring here very soon, but I'm really excited to see his retirement match. But I'm also really excited to see new champions, new talent emerge and get pushed to the top and to become more recognizable faces and names in the industry.
What about on the WWE side? What are you most excited about for 2024?
I've got to say, this upcoming WrestleMania really has me intrigued. This is the first time in a few years that they really haven't truly telegraphed what the main events are going to be. I mean, there's obviously a lot of speculation with the IWC online and on the dirt sheets, but who is going to end up challenging Roman? Is it going to be The Rock? Is it going to be Cody? Who's going to end up challenging Seth? Is it going to be Drew McIntyre? Is it going to be CM Punk? There's a lot of opportunity with WrestleMania. But again, I think 2024 is going to be a defining year for WWE as well. A lot of young superstars that have been called up recently from NXT and who are now performing regularly on SmackDown and Raw. These rosters are just so robust and packed with probably the most talented arsenal of professional wrestlers in modern day history. I mean, we can look back at the Attitude Era, or we can look back at the golden years of the late 80s. And yeah, there's top stars that were household names and well-known in Hollywood. But pound for pound and talent for talent, right now, this is kind of like a new golden age of professional wrestling. Just so many opportunities for new, fresh storylines. And again, these veterans and these guys who have been around for a long time, really elevating the youth and the new faces and talent. It's really an exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
You see that, folks? He is, in fact, intelligent. The man knows his wrestling, and I'm floored by this. That was awesome. Awesome analysis there. Awesome takes there. I love it. And for anyone out there, Duval County School Board, District 7, a little birdie told me that Travis Akers is running for one of those seats there. So Travis, if you win, are you going to bring like one of the World Heavyweight Championships out to the school board floor?
I'll tell you what, that's actually a great idea. At our election night party, I think it would be wonderful to bring out. I have the big golden, I have the big gold eagle wing belt. I think I should wear that on election night, maybe, and claim the title of Duval County Public School Heavyweight Champion of the World. I don't know if I don't know how well that would go over during actual school board meetings, but I'm a fun guy. I don't take life too seriously. So sure, maybe a belt will make an appearance in the chambers of the public school board meetings as well.
Incredible. If anyone wants to keep up with you, Travis, what's the best way they could do that?
Well, they can follow me on Twitter at Travis Akers and on Facebook at Travis Akers, or they can feel free to visit my website, travisakers.com.
Awesome stuff there from Travis Akers. It's pretty cool. The fact that he is so well accomplished and not afraid to point out the fact that he is a big wrestling fan. And you can hear from the analysis there, he knows his stuff. AEW, WWE, the whole 9 yards there. So that's pretty cool. Definitely check out his website. I know that he is running for office, and I'm not going to tell you to vote for Travis or not vote for Travis, but check out his website. If you live down there in Florida, Duval County, he may have something going on that you're interested in. So I encourage you to check that out for sure. And certainly, if you want to meet Travis, I got a great scoop for you. The River City Wrestling Con. Okay, you will get a chance to meet Travis. He's such a big wrestling fan that he has already agreed to be at the River City Wrestling Con. In fact, he's been a few times. You know, it's an event that he personally enjoys. So he let me know he's going to be there June 8th and 9th. River City Wrestling Con at the World Golf Village Resort, St. Augustine, Florida. And this is a new location. It's bigger, it's brighter, it's better. Already announced Sting, already announced Trish Stratus. So many great folks are going to be there this year, and you have to be there this year. Teddy Long is going to be there. Goodness gracious. Come on, Bobby Fish, Low Key, the whole 9 yards there. I hear that Tiny Thunley is going to be suplexing folks. You know she is the suplex queen. I hear she's going to be suplexing folks at the River City Wrestling Con. So you definitely do not want to miss it, folks. June 8th and 9th. If you see our man Travis there, definitely give him a pound. Tell him that you heard him on Duke Loves Wrestling. That would be cool. Okay, moving on here. We're going to check out our next guest. And her name is Eliza Haze. Really interesting person, really interesting story here. She went from the mecca of pro wrestling, Florida, you know, where you had wrestling schools and promotions that you could work as often as you want. Then she and her family moved to New Mexico, where there is very little opportunity in comparison there. So check out this great conversation. We're running with our theme of how diverse pro wrestling fandom and pro wrestling in general can be. Check it out.
Hey, brothers and sisters, this is Eliza Haze, your favorite flower child, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Brothers and sisters, you know that here on the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, I certainly enjoy having the Hall of Famers on the show. Definitely the stars that time has forgotten, you know, to remind folks that they're still out there and what have you. Current stars, you know, certainly people that you see on TV today, they're always welcome on the show, and you folks enjoy when they come on. But I have a soft spot for independent wrestlers, and especially independent wrestlers who have an interesting story that I haven't heard before. You know, and I love sharing that type of content with you out there because it just adds more perspective on what the wrestling industry is. It's never just one thing. And these are real people dealing with real day-to-day challenges as they pursue their dream. And certainly our next guest here, she has a hell of a challenge based on geography. And I think this is something that you folks will enjoy hearing about because is there anything we can do about this? So without further ado, Eliza Haze, welcome to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. And, you know, you're somebody who you really came into your own when you were training and developing down in the Florida wrestling scene, which is really like ground zero. That's like the number one place for pro wrestling in the world at this point, right?
I mean, you could basically throw a rock in Florida and find yourself a wrestling promotion.
Of course, in a wrestling school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of that, wrestling, if you wanted to, how often do you think you could wrestle in a week down in Florida if you could get the bookings?
You can wrestle every weekend, pretty much, and sometimes twice a weekend.
Wow. Probably during the week too, right?
Sometimes, yeah. There's not as many during the week, but I have seen a couple of shows popping up during the week.
And down in Florida, you have an abundance of other women that you can wrestle with, and therefore women's titles that you can compete for, right?
Oh, definitely. There's a very deep talent pool in Florida as far as the women's roster goes. A lot of the time, you'll see a lot of the same faces, but in the last year, there have been a lot more coming out.
So that's what we know in terms of how you started to develop in pro wrestling. But then something interesting happened. You moved. And you didn't just move. You moved to a place that is the complete opposite of Florida. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the culture shock of going from the mecca of pro wrestling, where everybody in wrestling, they go to Florida and try to make it to the big time. All the big companies have satellite offices or are literally based in Florida. You go from that to where are you today?
I am out in New Mexico, so I literally moved to the desert. It is kind of a wrestling desert out here. There's one promotion that's been active since this past summer, and I know that there's one or two trying to pop up, but I haven't had much talk with them yet. They really haven't quite found their feet yet. So the one that is definitely solid in New Mexico right now is Duke City Championship Wrestling up in Albuquerque.
Okay, well, Duke City Championship Wrestling, I'm going to sue all of you because you took my name and you slapped it on your promotion. You're over here trying to make yourselves a big deal. So unless Eliza is the champion, I think that I need to take you folks to court. So I'm just going to put that on the record there.
Well, they don't have a women's title yet, but Albuquerque has the Dukes is, I think, one of their teams. So they go by Duke City.
This is incredible. So you got the Dukes, Duke City. What is going on down there? They're just stealing all of my material, basically. I don't know how I feel about this, Eliza. So you're basically the queen of the Albuquerque pro wrestling scene.
Right now, I'm kind of the anchor for the women's division. When DCCW brings in another woman, like when we have a women's match, we have to bring somebody. For example, this past weekend, they brought in Lilith Grimm from Colorado.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So Lilith Grimm came in and you and her worked together?
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. So how does that go? I mean, when these women from different parts of the nation, different parts of the world, they come into your territory, New Mexico, because you drove all the women out. They didn't want to wrestle you because you beat the hell out of all of them, so they're intimidated. But when somebody gets some courage and shows up, how does that go?
Sometimes better than others. Last month, or not last month, because I wasn't there in December. I guess it was November then. They brought in Angelica Risk, and she came out on top on that one. So it's just like any match. Anybody can win any given day. But it's definitely been nice facing different people.
I bet. I bet because Jesus, you can only learn so much from the same opponents, and at some point, everyone has seen that match already.
Yeah.
So that wow. So if you want to wrestle, how often do you wrestle right now in New Mexico?
Right now, it's pretty much just once a month.
Once a month. Jeez. Do you ever worry about ring rust or anything like that? That's not a lot of reps there.
Yeah, I do. So I usually try to get there and get a little bit of ring time in before, just go over the basic stuff, the bumps, the rolls, make sure everything's solid. If there's anything, I'm unsure about, like I'll just test some stuff out in the ring beforehand. I am trying to get some ring time at a school in Texas. Pro Wrestling Legacy, they also run a promotion out of there. So I've been in talks with them, and I'm hoping to find some weekend to pop out there. But it's a 3-hour drive. So unfortunately, that's the closest ring to me right now.
3 hours just to go beat somebody up. That's a hell of a commitment for sure.
Yeah, Albuquerque's a 4-hour drive. El Paso is a 3-hour drive. And then if I want to go out to Arizona, it's been pretty much like mostly like 3 to 5 hours.
Wow.
For the promotions out there.
That is so challenging because again, you're somebody who you're chasing your dream of pro wrestling. And you have wrestled matches and you've been making your way out there, and then for whatever reason, you had to move to a totally different state and that's your home, but you don't have as many opportunities there. A lot of folks build it themselves. Have you ever thought about starting your own promotion or at least getting a team together who starts a promotion?
I have. Um, I've thought about putting a ring up that like I can at least practice in. Maybe like I've had folks ask me if I want to set up a school or something like that. Frankly, I don't feel like I'm qualified to run a school, and there's really nobody close enough that I could bring in that would be qualified. But it would be nice to have a ring somewhere nearby. Um, New Mexico is a commissioned state, so I don't know what their rules on running a school are, but I know that in order to run promotions, you have to get a promoter's license and you have to pay commission fees. You have to have medical staff on hand, an ambulance. Everybody has to be insured. You have to have a doctor on site to examine everybody before they go out.
That's interesting. So because of that, when your promotion run shows, do you normally draw a big crowd, or is it because it's so infrequent that that's a little bit more challenging?
I know when I wrestle up in Albuquerque with Duke City, they draw a really large crowd. They had, I think the count was over 550 at the show this past weekend.
That's great. That's great.
So
Wow.
they pack the house in there, and the crowd is always just on fire.
That's great. See, that's people think about pro wrestling and they may have their own idea or assumptions on what it is. And certainly, shows like The Wrestlers on Netflix, which shows what's happening in OVW, I think that shed a lot of light on the challenges that go along with running a wrestling promotion and a wrestling school and also the challenges that wrestlers go through. Now, compound that with the fact that you only got one promotion in the area that's running once a month. Wow. that's tough. That's really, really tough. And based on where you are to even drive anywhere in order to wrestle, it's hours and hours. That's a lot of miles and what have you. And then now you're talking about the booking fees, which I'm not going to ask you how much you're asking for booking fee, but is the fee going to cover everything?
Oh no.
To justify driving all over the world like that, So
No, most of the time the fee doesn't even cover gas.
wow. Especially these days. Wow. Okay. So why do it? I mean, why do you continue to be a pro wrestler, Eliza?
Because it's what I love doing. I have days where I send out emails, I don't get any responses back, and it's disheartening, but it's what I want to do. So the only thing to do is just keep moving forward, keep sending the emails, keep putting up the content, and hope that it catches somebody's eye, and yeah, I can get more bookings eventually.
If a promoter does decide to do business with you, they bring you in and what have you, what are they going to get?
They are going to get somebody that the kids love. Kids are pretty much like my target fan base. And that's mostly because the colors, I try to be fun in the ring, and I always try to make time for the kids, because those kids that are sitting out there, they're going to be the next ones to step in the ring. And for them, everything is still, they don't look at the dirt sheets. They don't, read the rumor mills and all that. For them, this is just something magical. And every time I step in the ring, I want those kids to feel that magic.
Great answer. Great answer. And clearly, I mean, you're a wrestling fan. Outside of being a performer yourself, you've been a fan of the industry, right?
Yeah, I haven't kept up as much as I would like to the last few months, just because with the move in the spring and kind of trying to find my footing outside of wrestling in the community here. It's been kind of crazy. So I try to keep up as much as I can, but sometimes I miss some stuff and I have to catch it on the news feeds on Facebook.
Which, thank God for that. I mean, geez, when I grew up in the 80s, we didn't have access to any of that.
Yeah.
So if you missed it, then maybe you had a VCR where you were recording or what have you. But outside of that, if you missed it, you missed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank goodness you have.
Yeah, you could pop on YouTube and catch highlights from matches and stuff and get the important points.
That's right. That's right. Who are some of your favorites just in general? If you were to list like a top 3 wrestlers out there, past or present, who's on your top 3?
Probably have to say, well, Rey Mysterio has always been a favorite of mine since I was a kid. Women-wise, I'd probably have to say Asuka, just because she's always so entertaining. I'm gonna say KiLynn King.
Cool.
Because I've worked with her, like I've seen her come up through the business. Back before she really like found her footing, like found her character and her voice. And just seeing where she was then to where she is now is very inspirational.
Well, certainly shout out to KiLynn King. She's been here on the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, the MF and King. And I know that she's nursing a very serious injury now, so we wish KiLynn the best out there. But yeah, that's a great call out. Asuka, of course, she's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Rey Mysterio, obviously, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, that's a pretty good mix. That's a pretty good mix there. Well, great point.
Last year.
Great point. He already is, and he's still out there wrestling. Can you imagine? That's impressive. Yeah, for somebody who hasn't been keeping up, you sure knew that. So you kicked my ass that time. I'm scared of you there.
I told you I try to at least get the important points when I can.
You sure do. You sure do. Well, for anyone listening, what's the best way that they can reach you?
Well, I have all social media platforms. I have Facebook, Instagram, X. I still call it Twitter. I'm not on there as much anymore because it's kind of gotten bogged down. But I also have a YouTube channel.
Which is, what are all those under?
If you just type in Eliza Haze, I will come up for all of them.
Awesome. Well, Eliza, I wish you nothing but the best. You're the queen of New Mexico. So if anyone out there wants to go down to Mexico and challenge the queen, Eliza Haze is ready for you.
Yeah, man. Hit me up and we'll make it happen.
Fun conversation there with Eliza Haze, the queen of New Mexico wrestling. And certainly, again, anybody who's interested in checking out Eliza Haze, if you want to challenge her or what have you to a match, reach out to her. Eliza Haze on all the social media platforms. Good stuff. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, you are going to hear from another first, at least for me, and certainly a first here for Duke Loves Wrestling, a pro wrestler who is from Iraq. Wow. Let's talk hydration. See, I carry something to drink with me every single place that I go because I am concerned about being dehydrated. It runs in the family. Everything from dry mouth, dizzy spells, fainting. It's pretty serious. And I've tried all the different types of waters and sports drinks. Let me tell you something right now. Liquid IV. That has been the most efficient at keeping me hydrated and doing so pretty quickly. Okay, Liquid IV has 5 essential vitamins and is 2 times faster at keeping you hydrated than water alone. And I'm serious, man. Everything from vitamin C to vitamins B3, B5, B6, B12. Liquid IV also is non-GMO, so it's free from gluten, dairy, soy. So for all you folks out there with food allergies, this may be right up your alley. And I know what you're thinking, but how does it taste, Duke? Well, it tastes pretty good. Okay, we're talking my favorite in pina colada. They also have tropical punch, strawberry, new flavors like sea berry and strawberry lemonade. You can enjoy this stuff, man. But don't take my word for it. I want you to stop what you're doing right now and head over to liquidiv.com. Use the promo code Duke Loves Rasslin so you get 20% off your entire order. I mean, anything that you order on liquidiv.com. So what are you waiting for? It's time for you to shop better hydration today. Use the promo code Duke Loves Rasslin over at liquidiv.com. Save yourself 20%. Stay hydrated. Most importantly, enjoy life. That's right. Now let's get on with the show.
My name is Ali Mohammed, and you are listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Brothers and sisters, you know I am a huge fan of the independent wrestling scene, and I'm always happy to highlight folks who are on the indies and really, expose them to the greater audience out there in the world. And certainly our guest here is someone that has a very, very interesting story, one I've never actually heard before in pro wrestling. So this would be cool. Without further ado, Ali Mohammed, welcome to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How you doing today?
Another day in paradise, man. I know it's been a lot of crazy information out there in pro wrestling, especially in WWE land. But today we're going to be talking about Ali land. So let's start from the beginning here. Where were you born? Where are you from? Talk to me about your journey there, Ali.
This may shock a lot of people, but I was born in Everett, Washington, United States in January of 95.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you were born in Everett, Washington. Talk to me about Washington. I mean, did you spend a lot of time in that state? If you did, tell me a little bit about the state for somebody who's never been there before.
I was born in Everett in 95. I lived there for 23 years of my life, so the majority of my life. Everett is a fairly small city, and it's a very peaceful city, I would say. There are, of course, a few crimes here and there, but it is it's a good place to live. Like, it gets cold sometimes, but we do have summers here and there, and it is a good place to live.
That's cool. That's cool. So it's interesting because you have a very distinct accent there, Ali. Mm-hmm. And is that an Everett, Washington accent, or is there something more going on there?
It is actually an amalgamation of multiple accents. So I'm a first generation immigrant, as you would say. My parents moved here from Iraq to Washington in like June of 94. Then a few months later, my mother gave birth to me. As I was growing up, I was basically learning English around the same time as my family. My dad did go to community college to learn English, but for a lot of my family members, my mama including, we learn our English either by television or when my older cousins go to kindergarten, get their ABC notes, and when they came back, basically everybody learn the ABC together. And while we do learn English from textbook right now, sometimes like my dad and my uncles who go to college, they do bring some of the lessons back home. So everybody's learning English together. I would also watch a lot of television growing up. So a lot of times when I watch TV, I would get few words, few phrases here and there. I do have a lot of English words. Some of them are New Yorker or Southern accent, depending on what movie or show I'm watching. And on occasionally, because I was a child still, I will watch a lot of television shows from a British broadcast. So if you do hear me say a few English words or phrases, it's because like I learned a few British slang here and there.
Wow. That's a lot going on there for sure. Ali, I want to step back for a second because you corrected yourself. You said something and then you said, "Excuse me, Iraq." What did you say before you said Iraq?
Well, I was saying Iraq. That is the Arabian pronunciation, and because Arabic is my first language, I'm so used to saying things the Arabic way. And there are times like when I'm in wrestling, I'll talk to people, especially with WWE and Saudi Arabia. And when it was my turn or when I was talking on the subject, I would say in Saudi, when WWE or the guys go to Saudi and this going on in Saudi, and the people are confused, like, where they going? And I had to correct myself. Oh, they're going to Saudi Arabia because I was so used to saying the Arabic way. It's the same thing with either Iraq, Iraq, Iran, Iran, Jordan, Yemen. Like, I'm so used to saying it the Arabian way. So I have to correct myself. That way the English speaking audience can understand where I'm referring to, which country I'm referring to.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now, Ali. I think that it's important that you not apologize for pronouncing anything the Arabian way. And I think that rather than say sorry and correct yourself, say, in this case, you're talking about Iraq. So you say Iraq, what you would refer to as Iraq. So it's great that you're saying both because you're educating others. Like you just educated me on the correct way to say Iraq as opposed to Iraq. And I appreciate that. But don't apologize because you're not wrong. You're 100% right, my brother.
I understand. I'm not being apologetic. I'm just saying more or less, excuse me, or I meant to say, but a lot of times I'm just used to saying, one thing. Like for this month, I would say, I'm sorry. Next month, I would say, excuse me. Like I'm sometimes switch my vocabulary every now and then.
Well, because you got a lot more vocabulary than somebody like me. I don't speak other languages. I can understand a little bit of French and Spanish. I mean, I took years and years of Latin, which helps. But unlike me, who literally has one primary language that I speak, you speak multiple languages. So it's pretty awesome. Now, tell me something. Have you ever been to Iraq?
Yes, I have actually been to Iraq. I've been to Iraq on 5 different occasions.
Okay, cool. All right. So talk to me about Iraq in the modern times here, because what I'm curious about, I mean, we've had so much war and fighting, attempts at rebuilding, but we don't really get the full picture of what it's like over there from somebody who is actually of the culture. So for you or your family, that's your family's land and what have you. You are part of the culture. You are, even though you're born here in the United States, you'll always be Iraqi as well. Talk to me about over there and in more modern times. I mean, are we in better shape than maybe it was when you were first born, or do you feel that Iraq is in trouble right now?
Well, mind you, the last time I've been to Iraq was in December of 2017. I was there from like the second week of December to the last week of December. And when I arrived in Iraq, the news I hear from everybody was the Iraqi and the Iranian and Syrian army. They've successfully pushed out the ISIS terrorist group from the Iraqi borders into the mountain range of Syria. And when I went home to Nasiriyah, the district where my family originally lived, I do see the economy is slowly recovering. And I once drove by a large farming field, and my cousin was telling me they were planting a lot of vegetation. They were building like lettuce, cabbages, tomatoes, watermelon. And when I went to the shopping district, I do see a mall being built. So the economy is slowly getting built back together. And the Arabian people were more resilient than people give us credit for. So we are recovering. It's just a little bit slowly. And of course, after the pandemic, and right now there's a little bit unrest in the Middle East after what happened. But yeah, slowly but surely we are recovering, the country of Iraq.
Now, talk to me about the food, man. I'm big on food. I love cultural foods from all over the world. What's your favorite Iraqi food?
I really love sheep's kebab in the Middle East. Like, I don't know why, but I just really love the sheep's kebab. There are times where I would visit over to Iraq. We do eat various other foods for the Middle East, like we have chicken and rice, there's baklava, there's also a lot of Middle Eastern sweets I do love to eat. But occasionally, every once in a while, my family would make us kebab because they know I love it. So kebab is very much my favorite Arabian food.
So when you have kebab, is that lamb? Is it beef? What do we have in the kebab for the base meat?
Majority of the time is usually from sheep, from lamb.
Awesome. I love. Listen, I'm one of those people, man, that when I was in college, I had discovered shawarma. You know, I'd never had shawarma before. Lamb, beef mixed in the pocket with all of the spices and all the fixings and what have you, and that really took me on a ride throughout different types of food from that part of the world. So different types of Arab foods and things of that nature there. And my goodness, man, I love it all. You know what I mean? The food is it just tastes cleaner and, dare I say, healthier in a lot of ways, right?
But it's mostly how we treat our livestock when it comes to how we treat our sheep, our chickens. We raise them differently, and we, of course, slaughter them differently. So a lot of times the meat is cleaner the way they are.
Absolutely. Shout out. Okay, so I need to get some kebab because you got me hungry now. Now, do you have your kebab spicy or are you not so spicy?
I'm not a big fan of spice. I am trying a little bit every now and then, but I'm generally not a fan of spicy food.
Gotcha. Now, what about the desserts, man? Because I know the desserts can be crazy. Mango, cashew, you name it. Talk to me about the desserts, man.
There's, of course, a baklava. It's like sweetened date, if I'm not mistaken. And there's also a dug, which is basically flatbread that you put honey and sugar on it, and you fry it, which tastes delicious. But yeah, there are a lot of like good Arabian desserts, depending on which country. And Turkey, they have these Turkish delight dessert, which is very delicious. But yeah, like Middle Eastern does have a good amount of dessert.
Oh yeah, Turkish delights. You put some fresh pistachios on top and what have you. Good stuff.
Right.
Man. Absolutely. I love it. You know, mango lassi and things like that. Because the drinks too. I mean, all the different types of what we would call smoothies, but the fruit drinks. Because fruits, even in Iraq has some delicious fruits, right?
They do, yes.
Man, see, I love it. That's good stuff. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't recall in my lifetime ever speaking directly to someone who is of the Iraqi culture. So it's pretty cool to speak with you and learn something. You know, we got a lot of friends from Iran and obviously Saudi, as you would say, with Saudi Arabia. But it's pretty cool to hear from you, who's of the Iraqi culture. That's cool. So you're a pro wrestler, and you're based where? In Florida?
Yes, sir. I'm currently in Orlando, Florida. I mostly work in the Florida, Georgia, and the Carolina areas.
So I gotta ask this question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but it is something that matters. Do you find that you're mostly booked as a heel, or have you ever done any babyface work at all?
So over the course of my career, I had about 200 matches, and about 5 of these occasions, I was a babyface. The first 2 times I was a baby was because I was still in training. I was still getting used to the environment. So they had me as a baby. That way I can work with the heel who can direct me during the matches. And then the other 3 times I was a babyface, I was in South Carolina. My friend who's a promoter, he is from Syria, and he was a huge babyface there. And when I came as his cousin, his kayfabe cousin, people cheered me as a babyface because I was helping my cousin winning the matches. So I was a babyfaces on 5 different occasions, but I do generally work as a heel.
Now that's interesting. Are there a lot of Syrians in South Carolina?
There are a handful of Syrian. It's just my friend, my KFA cousin, is the only one I know as a wrestler.
Gotcha. That's really, really interesting that utilizing the Syrian culture is getting over the way that you just stated there in South Carolina. I gotta look into that. I'd love to report on that here on the show. That's pretty cool. Shout out to all of our Syrian brothers and sisters out there. So primarily you're utilized as a heel. How does that make you feel, man? I mean, the fact that your gimmick is an ethnic gimmick, and you're booked as somebody who's supposed to go out there and do dastardly things, for lack of a better term. I mean, how does that feel?
Well, a little bit off topic, but in both wrestling and in real life, a lot of times when it comes to doing businesses, you gotta do what the business dictates. What I'm saying is if you are in a restaurant business, you won't give the people the food that you are advertising. When you're in a clothing business, you won't give the clothing that you're advertising. Now, when it comes to wrestling, I'm in the area, especially in Florida, where the majority of the population is Caucasian, Black Americans, and Puerto Rican descent. So a lot of times their heroes will be Caucasian wrestlers, Black wrestlers, and Puerto Rican wrestlers. So I'm the only Arab basically in the area. And back in the territory days, the biggest heroes were, of course, the Iron Sheik and other Arabs who play as the evil Arabian Sheik. So for me to come to the South and play as a heel, I don't see that as the discriminatory or that they're trying to insult me, but it is a good way to gather heat from the crowd, of make them feel good about, us versus them kind of story. But going on to this, I do feel over time where people recognize me more, especially down in Florida, because I've worked mostly in Florida. And occasionally I do get cheered even as a heel. So over time, like me and another wrestler, I don't speak to him, but Mustafa Ali, he mentioned this before, where he wants to let the people know that not all Middle Easterns are evil, and he wants to change that. And I came to the point of my career where I want to try to let people know, like, yes, I'm Arab and I'm not evil just because of the old stereotype in wrestling or what the political landscape says that we're evil just because we have different views than most Americans.
That's good stuff there. Now, do you find that you get booked pretty often because your character is, you are the Arab character, and I know that there's a pretty strong Arab community down in Florida, so it's familiar enough, but maybe not as many Arab wrestlers, right?
When it comes to Florida, they do have a lot of people from Palestine, but majority of the folks I see here are from Pakistan. So Pakistan and Egypt as well. So there is a handful of Arab cultures, but I also see a lot of Persian, Pakistani culture here. So I do get some of them to come to my matches. And going to your first questions earlier, when you asked, is it easier for me to get booked as a Arabian heel? And the answer to that is yes and no. Yes, it is easy for me to get into places because I'm an authentic Sheik and they've never seen anybody like me before. So there are times where I can easily get on a show because I'm different. They've never seen anyone like me before. But when I say no, it's because I am authentic, because I am an actual Arab, not someone outside the culture impersonating as an Arab. It is difficult for me to get into places because I would get more reaction than even the top babyface. I have a small story to tell. There is a promotion in Oklahoma City. I won't say the name of the promotion. Years ago, I tried to reach out to them to garner business to become part of their roster. They had one Caucasian wrestler who appears as a Sheik, and he speaks fake Persian or fake Arabic. I forget like which part he was playing, but I didn't let that bother me because I wanted to get business. So I told him, hey, I'm willing to come over. I'm willing to become his sidekick, his partner, whatever. Like, I'm trying to get on the show because I was still new in the business. And the promoter was having serious talk with me. He was asking me if I'm willing to do ladder matches one night, and I was saying, yes, I can do that. But then a couple of days later, I think because he went to my profile because he was interested, he realized, like, I'm not a outsider pretending to be an Arab. I'm an actual Arab who can actually speak Arabic. And he was worried that I might accidentally expose his top heel as a non-Arab. So he texted me, he goes like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't get you on the show. Why not? Oh, we're fully booked. That wasn't the issue a week ago, but now it becomes. So there are times where I wasn't able to get bookings because I would outperform and outshine their top heels, their top babies. So it is a curse and a blessing being an authentic Arab and investing in business.
It's awesome. I love it. And kudos to you, man. You found your way, and you know, having over 200 matches is a big deal. How many years have you been wrestling?
5.5 years.
Great. That's great. That's a lot of matches in that period of time there. So you stay booked, especially considering the fact that we had a whole pandemic in between that. So, you know, that's a tremendous amount of work in a relatively short amount of time. You know, almost 2 years were taken away from you. So that's good stuff, man. Listen, Ali, if anyone listening wants to reach out, follow your journey, maybe even do some business with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Best way to reach out to me is on Facebook Messenger. I do have an Instagram, but Messenger is the best way to reach out to me. The Facebook page is Ali Mohammed Altawal. I book my wrestling journey as well as my personal journey.
Okay. There he is. Ali Mohammed, listen, it is a pleasure to have you on Duke Loves Rasslin', and I want you to come back later in the year and update us. Let us know how the progress continues to go, man, because it sounds like sky is the limit for you. And, you know, at some point, you and I got to get some kebab.
Yes, sir. We eventually will do that together. This year, I'm expecting to go even bigger and louder. I've already spoken to a handful of promoters who wants to do bigger things with me. I have one promoter who I call wants me to turn into an Arabian Harley race. He wants me to turn into a monster this year. This year, I plan to go into more states. I plan to go even out of country. And eventually, my goal is to be in top promotions such as TNA, AEW, New Japan, and eventually WWE.
My brothers, my sisters, it is your man, the Duke, host of the Duke Loves Rasslin' podcast. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to www.strictlyfortheculture.ca. Strictly for the Culture is one of the hottest brands in sports and entertainment today. Come on. You've seen the t-shirts. You've seen the hoodies on folks like Rodney Mack, the Reverend Ron Hunt, Jeremy Prophet, MLW World Champion Alex Kane, Mr. PWI 500, Jay Bougie, even your man, the Duke, and a lot of other podcasters and influencers. So I'll say it once again, www.strictlyfortheculture.ca. Do it for the love, do it for the respect, do it for the honor, but most of all, do it strictly for the culture. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin'.